English learners, welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be taking you to the airport.
That's right. We're going to listen as a man checks in at the airport and deals with his luggage.
That's right. So we're going to be looking at a lot of great stuff that can help you the next time you are at the airport at the check-in counter. So why don't we take a look at one word that we're going to preview today in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
We're going to hear this guy say, I'd like to check 3 pieces.
He's going to check 3 pieces of what?
Pieces of luggage.
So when we talk about luggage, we can say pieces of luggage.
That's right. Luggage is a non-count noun. So you can't say 1 luggage, 2 luggages, 3 luggages. That's wrong.
Right. So we use
pieces of luggage.
Okay. So 3 pieces of luggage.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Let's listen to our dialogue for the first time. We're going to see what happens with this guy at the airport and with his pieces of luggage.
Next, please. Hello, sir. May I see your passport, please?
Yes. Here you go.
Will you be checking any bags today?
Yes, I'd like to check 3 pieces.
I'm sorry, sir. Airline policy only allows 2 pieces of checked luggage at 20 kilograms each, plus 1 piece of carry-on luggage. I will have to charge you extra for the additional suitcase.
What? Why? I'm taking an intercontinental flight. I'm flying 16,000 kilometers. How am I supposed to take only 2 20-kilo bags? That's absurd.
I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing I can do. You cannot board the flight with that large bag either. Carry-on bags must fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat. That bag is clearly too big.
Now I see. You charge next to nothing for an international ticket. When it comes to charging for any other small thing, you charge an arm and a leg. So tell me, miss, how much will I have to pay for all of this?
Let's see. $625 US.
That's more than my round-trip ticket!
All right, well, that's a whole lot of money, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a very common situation. I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to this situation.
Overweight charges are pretty expensive.
Very high.
I know from personal experience. But that's not what we want to talk about now. We want to talk about some really useful vocabulary in Language Takeaway.
Language Takeaway.
All right, on Language Takeaway today, we have 5 words. So why don't we start with the first one?
So the woman asked, will you be checking any bags today?
Will you be checking any bags today?
To check bags.
Right, so the verb to check.
It means to give your bags to the airline, to register them.
Okay, so that's what happens with your luggage. You check them, so basically they become responsible for your bags.
Right. It reminds me of checking into a hotel.
Right, very similar. When you go to a hotel, you register at the hotel, you check in. In this case, you just check your luggage.
You don't check in your luggage.
Right.
Okay, so check luggage.
So he wanted to check 3 pieces of luggage, and he also had carry-on luggage.
Carry-on luggage.
Carry-on.
So carry-on luggage, it's pretty simple.
That's right, you carry it on yourself.
Exactly, you carry it onto the plane. Now,
Okay.
we can talk about carry-on luggage, right? Mm-hmm. Or carry-on bag.
Right, or a carry-on suitcase. Mm-hmm. A very small suitcase that can fit under your seat.
Exactly. All right, so carry-on luggage. Now, he was traveling on an intercontinental flight.
Intercontinental.
Intercontinental.
We have 2 words there, inter.
Between.
Between, right? And continental.
So this sounds like continent.
Okay, so he's traveling maybe from Asia to North America.
Okay, intercontinental.
He's trying to board this intercontinental flight.
So to board a flight.
Board a plane.
Board a train.
All right, so basically it means to
get on.
To get on.
To get on a vehicle.
Okay, so I can say board the ship, board the car.
No.
No?
No. But board the train.
Board the train.
Board the bus. All aboard.
That's right. That's why in movies you see that somebody will yell all aboard.
Yeah.
In the train station, right?
Exactly.
All aboard. Okay, so board a vehicle. And our last phrase for today, overhead compartment.
Overhead compartment.
Overhead compartment.
All right, let's break this phrase down. Overhead.
So that's on top of your head, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Above you.
Yeah. And the compartment is a place where you can put something and store it. Kind of like a box.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have an overhead compartment, that big box where you put your bags and your purse or whatever on an airplane. Very similar to, for example, an overhead projector.
Right. So that's the machine that puts an image or a picture on a wall. Like sometimes you see them in meetings.
Right. So because the image is over your head and it's
Yep.
big, it's called an overhead projector.
Okay. So some great language. Why don't we hear it again in context by listening to the dialogue for the second time?
Next, please. Hello, sir. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here you go.
Will you be checking any bags today?
Yes, I'd like to check 3 pieces.
I'm sorry, sir. Airline policy allows only 2 pieces of checked luggage at 20 kilograms each, plus 1 piece of carry-on luggage. I will have to charge you extra for the additional suitcase.
What? Why? I'm taking an intercontinental flight. I'm flying 16,000 kilometers. How am I supposed to take only 2 20-kilo bags? That's absurd.
I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing I can do. You cannot board the flight with that large bag either. Carry-on bags must fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat. That bag is clearly too big.
Now I see. You charge next to nothing for an international ticket. But when it comes to charging for any other small thing, you charge an arm and a leg. So tell me, miss, how much will I have to pay for all this?
Let's see. $625 US.
No, that's more than my round-trip ticket.
All right, so I think it's a little bit more clear now. And with this, it's time for us to take a look at some great phrases in putting it together.
Putting it together.
So this guy was pretty angry about this airline policy, and he said, "How am I supposed to?
How am I supposed to?
How am I supposed to?"
Okay, so before we get into explaining this, why don't we listen to a couple of examples so we can try and understand what it means?
Example 1.
How am I supposed to fit the dog in the car? There are 10 people in there already.
Example 2.
How is she supposed to get to work if her car's in the shop?
Example 3.
How are we supposed to know the answer to that? It's impossible.
Okay, so I can understand that it means, how can I do this?
Right. How do you expect me to do this?
How is it possible for me to do this?
Very good.
It's a phrase you use when you're frustrated, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're maybe a little bit frustrated or you're maybe nervous of something that you can't do or don't know how.
Yeah, this phrase, it's not impolite, but it sort of gives the idea that you're challenging the other person a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So a good phrase that you can use in different situations and you can try and mix it up with different verbs, right?
Right.
All right. Now let's take a look at our next phrase. I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing I can do.
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 So basically, the woman can't help the man, even though he's insisting and he's pushing that he wants another solution.
Yep.
Right? So finally, she says, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do.
So we use this phrase when someone's pushing you too much, right?
Right, and you would use it only in that situation towards the end because it is a little bit...
It's strong.
It's not impolite, but it's just you're saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. Now let's move on to our third phrase. You charge next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
All right, so we're talking about charging, we're talking about money. Why don't we listen to some examples of what this next to nothing phrase means?
Example 1.
Do you like my new house? It was so cheap that it almost cost next to nothing.
Example 2.
Let's go to Thailand. Tickets cost next to nothing right now.
Example 3.
The real estate agent charged me next to nothing for his commission, so I got a really good deal.
So when something costs next to nothing, it's really cheap, right?
It's really cheap, or you consider it to be cheap. Mm-hmm. And now, for our last phrase, it's the complete opposite of next to nothing.
Right. Charge an arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg.
All right, so this means it's really expensive.
It's so expensive, it's like giving your arm and your leg.
Right, to pay for it.
Yeah.
Very good. So next to nothing, really cheap. An arm and a leg, really expensive.
Can we look at the use here? All right, so in the dialogue we heard, you charge an arm and a leg, but we can also say it costs an arm and a leg.
Right, because we are referring to money, right?
All right, so some great phrases here. Now, I think it's time we listen to our dialogue one more time.
Next, please. Hello, sir. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here you go.
Will you be checking any bags today?
Yes, I'd like to check 3 pieces.
I'm sorry, sir. Airline policy only allows 2 pieces of checked luggage at 20 kilograms each, plus 1 piece of carry-on luggage. I will have to charge you extra for the additional suitcase.
What? Why? I'm taking an intercontinental flight. I'm flying 16,000 kilometers. How am I supposed to take only 2 20-kilo bags? That's absurd.
I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing I can do. You cannot board the flight with that large bag either. Carry-on bags must fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat. That bag is clearly too big.
Now I see. You charge next to nothing for an international ticket. When it comes to charging for any other small thing, you charge an arm and a leg. So tell me, miss, how much will I have to pay for all of this?
Let's see. $625 US.
That's more than my round-trip ticket!
Okay, so airline policies, luggage, it's always a problem, right? Most of the time you always end up paying overweight when you travel.
Yeah, I know that this happened to me once, and it was really expensive.
Really, what happened?
I was flying on an intercontinental flight from India back to Europe, and I had too many extra bags, but I really needed to bring them, and so it cost me $6,000.
$6,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my credit card was pretty maxed out after that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure many of our users probably suffered similar experiences like this.
Have you ever started a journey so full of excitement only for everything to start going wrong before you even reached your destination? In today's story, you'll hear about one trip that was supposed to be simple, but turned into an adventure full of surprises, challenges, and unexpected lessons. Now settle in, relax, and listen closely to discover what really happened. I remember that morning so clearly. It was still dark outside when I left my apartment, my 3 heavy suitcases sitting by the door like 3 loyal dogs waiting to be taken on an adventure. I was excited. This was my first intercontinental trip in years. 16,000 kilometers, 2 continents, 1 big dream. The taxi ride to the airport felt peaceful at first. The streets were almost empty, the streetlights glowing softly in the mist. I watched them pass one by one, thinking about the friends I would meet, the food I would eat, and the stories I would collect on the other side of the world. When I finally arrived at the airport, the automatic glass doors slid open, and that familiar mix of smells hit me. Coffee, perfume, and the faint scent of metal and plastic from luggage belts. The place was alive, even so early in the morning. Screens flashed flight numbers, voices echoed in different languages, wheels of suitcases rolled across the polished floor like a constant background song. I walked to the check-in counter, my boarding pass confirmation in one hand and my passport in the other. The woman behind the counter smiled politely and asked the question I had expected. "Will you be checking any bags today?" "Yes," I said, proudly, as if I was announcing something special. "I'd like to check 3 pieces." Her smile didn't change, but her eyebrows lifted just slightly. "I'm sorry, sir. Airline policy allows only 2 pieces of checked luggage at 20 kilograms each, plus 1 carry-on." For a moment, I thought she was joking. I laughed softly. "Well, this is an intercontinental flight. I'm traveling 16,000 kilometers, 2 continents, 3 bags, surely." She didn't laugh back. Her voice stayed polite, but firm. "I'll have to charge you extra for the additional suitcase." And just like that, the excitement I had carried with me all morning began to fade. I blinked at her, trying to process the words. Charge me extra? How much could 1 extra suitcase possibly cost? Maybe $50? $100 at most? I leaned forward slightly, lowering my voice as if we were sharing a secret. Okay, so how much are we talking about?" She tapped a few keys on her computer, her nails clicking against the keyboard like a metronome counting down to bad news. Then she looked up, her smile still perfectly professional. $625 US, sir." For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. I'm sorry, did you say 625? "Yes, sir." I stared at her, my mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled out of water. "That's more than my round-trip ticket!" My voice rose without my permission. I felt a couple of passengers in line behind me glance our way. She didn't flinch. She didn't argue. She just repeated calmly, "I understand it's a lot, sir, but that is the airline's policy." I ran a hand over my face and sighed. But how am I supposed to travel for a month with only 2 20-kilogram bags? I'm flying across the world. I need my clothes, my gifts, my life in these suitcases. Her eyes softened just a little, as if she'd heard this same speech many times before, but her voice remained the same, polite, distant, final. "I'm sorry, sir. There is nothing I can do." That sentence felt like a wall closing in front of me. No negotiation, no exceptions. I looked down at my 3 suitcases. They seemed to be mocking me now, sitting there like stubborn children who refused to be left behind. Somewhere in the terminal, a boarding announcement echoed through the speakers, reminding me that time was running out. I had to make a decision, and quickly. I glanced at the large digital clock above the check-in area. My flight was boarding in less than an hour. In my head, I began calculating the time it would take to get through security, find my gate, and maybe grab a coffee before boarding. That last part, the coffee, was starting to look like a lost dream. The woman at the counter waited patiently, her hands resting on the desk, as if she already knew the choice I would make. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. I crouched down beside my bags and opened the largest one. A wave of embarrassment washed over me as I began pulling out my clothes in the middle of the busy terminal. People walked by, pretending not to stare, but I could feel their eyes flicking toward me. I tried to think logically. Okay, maybe I can move some of the heavier items into my carry-on. I stuffed a pair of jeans, a thick sweater, and my running shoes into the small black suitcase that was supposed to fit under my seat. It was already full, but I kept pushing, telling myself it would somehow close. By now, I was sweating. The air conditioning in the terminal suddenly felt useless. I zipped the bag shut with a dramatic pull, the sound loud and sharp in the open space. When I stood up again, the airline agent tilted her head slightly. "Sir, your carry-on must fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat. That bag looks larger than allowed." I laughed a laugh, the kind of laugh that isn't happy at all. Of course it does, because nothing is ever easy, right? She gave a small, sympathetic smile. You still have two options: pay the fee or remove items until your carry-on meets the size limit. Two options, neither of them good. I glanced again at the clock. 45 minutes until boarding. Somewhere deep inside, a stubborn voice told me, "Don't pay them. Don't give them a single dollar more." But another, more practical voice whispered, "If you waste too much time here, you won't make it on the plane at all." I had to choose. I stood there for a moment, my hands gripping the handle of my overstuffed carry-on, my 3 suitcases lined up in front of me like silent witnesses. The clock above the counter kept ticking, and every second felt like a small punch in the chest. The practical voice in my head was now screaming, "You can't miss this flight. You've been planning this trip for months." The stubborn voice still fought back. $625 is robbery. Don't let them win. I took a deep breath and leaned toward the counter. "All right," I said, my voice low. "I'll pay it." The agent nodded politely, as if she had known all along. She tapped on her keyboard, printed a small receipt, and slid it across the counter toward me. I signed it, feeling each pen stroke like a surrender. As my credit card slid back into my wallet, the number 625 burned into my memory. That money could have paid for several nights in a hotel, a week's worth of meals, or even a short domestic flight. But instead, it had vanished into a policy I didn't agree with. The agent placed luggage tags on my bags, lifting them onto the conveyor belt one by one. I watched as my suitcases disappeared into the black rubber curtain, swallowed by the airport's hidden machinery. It felt a little like saying goodbye to friends who might not come back. When she handed me my boarding pass, she gave the same polite smile she'd worn the entire time. "Your gate is B22, sir. Boarding starts in 30 minutes. Have a nice flight." I forced a smile in return, muttered a "thank you," and turned away. My carry-on still felt heavier than it should, but now it wasn't just the weight of clothes and shoes, it was the weight of frustration. As I walked toward the security, I promised myself something. Next time, I would pack smarter, travel lighter, and never ever give an airline the chance to charge me an arm and a leg again. Or at least, I hoped I wouldn't. I hurried toward the security checkpoint, weaving through the crowd. My boarding pass was now in my shirt pocket, my passport in my hand. I told myself the worst was over. I had paid the ridiculous fee, my bags were on their way to the plane, and all I had to do was clear security. But the airport had other plans. The line at security stretched farther than I expected, a long, slow-moving snake of passengers shuffling forward with tired eyes. I joined the queue, shifting the heavy carry-on from one hand to the other. The air was filled with the sound of plastic trays clattering onto the conveyor belt, the low murmur of conversations, and the occasional sharp beep of the metal detector. As we inched forward, I noticed a sign. All electronic devices must be removed from carry-on luggage and placed in separate trays. My heart sank. Buried somewhere deep in my overpacked carry-on were my laptop, camera, and 2 portable chargers. To get them out, I would have to open the bag, the same bag I had wrestled shut at check-in. When it was my turn, I placed my shoes, belt, and watch into a tray. Then came the carry-on. The zipper resisted for a moment, as if it didn't want to relive the chaos from earlier. I pulled harder, and the bag finally burst open, spilling clothes onto the inspection table. A pair of socks rolled away like a tiny escapee. The security officer, a tall man with a serious face, looked down at the mess. "Sir, please remove your electronics." I dug through sweaters and jeans until I found the laptop, then the camera, then the chargers. By the time everything was in separate trays, I felt like I had unpacked half my life in front of a silent audience. I passed through the metal detector without a beep. But when I turned to collect my things, the officer was holding up my carry-on. "Sir, this bag looks too large for a cabin carry-on. You may need to check it in." My stomach tightened. I had already given the airline more money than I wanted to think about, and the thought of more charges made my stomach twist. I forced a smile and said, "Let me rearrange a few things." I stepped aside, unzipped the bag again, and began pulling out anything soft, a sweater, a scarf, a pair of sweatpants, and stuffing them into my jacket pockets. By the time I was done, I looked like I was preparing for a winter expedition, but the bag finally slid into the sizer without resistance. The agent nodded. "You're good to go, sir. Boarding starts shortly." I walked to a seat by the window, my jacket bulging awkwardly, but at least my carry-on was still with me. Outside, I could see the aircraft waiting, silver wings glinting in the sunlight. I told myself the worst was finally over. But after the morning I had, I wasn't sure I believed it.
The boarding call came over the loudspeaker at last. "We are now boarding passengers seated in Group 1. My group was 3, so I waited, watching people shuffle forward in a slow line toward the jet bridge. Every step they took brought me closer to the end of my airport ordeal. When my group was called, I joined the queue, my boarding pass in one hand and my now slightly lighter carry-on in the other. The gate agent scanned my pass with a cheerful beep and wished me a pleasant flight. I nodded, still too tired to answer with more than a polite smile. The jet bridge smelled faintly of jet fuel and cool air. The closer I got to the plane, the louder the engines became, a low, constant vibration that made me realize I was finally leaving solid ground behind. Inside the cabin, a flight attendant greeted me with a warm smile. "Welcome aboard, sir. Your seat is—" I glanced at my boarding pass again, even though I had memorized it. 14A. The narrow aisle felt even tighter than usual because of my jacket stuffed with clothes. I squeezed past a man already storing his bag in the overhead compartment, careful not to hit anyone with my carry-on. When I reached my row, I was relieved to see the overhead bins still had space. I lifted my bag in quickly, almost protectively, as if someone might still try to take it from me. Sliding into my window seat, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. The view outside showed the wings stretching across the tarmac, silver wings glinting in the sunlight. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to enjoy the excitement I had felt earlier that morning before the chaos began. The flight attendants moved through the aisle, helping passengers settle in. Somewhere behind me, a baby began to cry, and across the aisle, 2 men spoke in a language I didn't recognize. It was the usual symphony of an international flight. I fastened my seatbelt and leaned back. The stress of the airport was still there, buzzing faintly in my mind, but it was slowly being replaced by something else: anticipation. In just a few minutes, I would be in the air, leaving the morning's frustrations far below. Or so I hoped. The plane pushed back from the gate with a gentle jolt, and soon we were taxiing across the runway. I watched the airport terminal shrink behind us, feeling a wave of relief. The morning's chaos was officially behind me. Or so I thought. The takeoff was smooth at first. The engines roared, the plane tilted upward, and my stomach did that familiar little drop as we climbed into the clouds. I stared out the window, watching the city below dissolve into a patchwork of tiny streets and rooftops. Once the seatbelt sign switched off, I loosened my jacket, still ridiculously bulky from all the clothes I'd stuffed into it, and tried to relax. The flight attendants began rolling the drink cart down the aisle, the smell of coffee and warm bread drifting closer. I ordered a cup of tea, letting the hot steam soothe my throat. But just as I was beginning to feel at ease, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are expecting some turbulence ahead. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." I looked out the window. The sky seemed calm enough, but within minutes, the plane began to shudder. It was a slow rolling motion at first, like a boat swaying in gentle waves, but then came a sudden jolt that rattled my teeth. My cup of tea sloshed dangerously, and I set it down quickly, gripping the armrests. Around me, passengers reacted in different ways. Some closed their eyes and leaned back as if nothing was wrong, while others tightened their seatbelts and stared straight ahead. A child across the aisle clutched his mother's hand, his wide eyes reflecting the overhead lights. The turbulence lasted longer than I expected. Every time I thought it was calming down, another sharp bump made the cabin lurch. My heart thudded with each shake. I reminded myself that turbulence was normal, that planes were built for this, but logic only did so much to steady my nerves. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the plane leveled out. The captain's voice returned, calm and reassuring. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've passed the rough air now. Thank you for your patience." I let out a slow breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My tea was now lukewarm, but I drank it anyway, grateful for the distraction. The rest of the flight stretched ahead, hours of sky and clouds. I told myself nothing else could go wrong, but as I would soon find out, I was wrong again. For a while, things were peaceful. The hum of the engines became a kind of white noise, the cabin lights dimmed, and many passengers drifted off to sleep. I leaned my head against the window, watching the endless clouds slide past. That's when the intercom clicked on again. This time, it wasn't the captain's calm, measured voice, it was a flight attendant, and there was an edge of tension in her tone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there is a doctor or medical professional on board, please make yourself known to the crew immediately." The words snapped me fully awake. Around me, passengers stirred, some glancing up from their books, others pulling off their headphones. A man a few rows ahead stood quickly, raising his hand, and followed a flight attendant toward the back of the plane. I couldn't see much, but I caught glimpses between the seats, a small group of crew members huddled around a passenger who was slumped in his chair. The aisle became a tight, quiet bottleneck as people tried to watch without appearing too obvious. The minutes felt long. I could hear muffled instructions, the click of a medical kit being opened, and the soft, reassuring voice of the volunteer doctor. The air in the cabin seemed heavier now, the hum of the engines no longer comforting, but almost oppressive. After what felt like forever, the captain's voice came on. "Ladies and gentlemen, the passenger is stable and receiving care. We will be continuing our flight as planned. Thank you for your cooperation." A small wave of relief passed through the cabin, though the earlier sense of ease was gone. People whispered quietly to their seatmates. I leaned back again, my mind still replaying the scene. It was a sharp reminder that even high above the clouds, unexpected problems could find you. I closed my eyes, hoping the rest of the journey would pass without incident. My destination was getting closer with every minute, but I was beginning to feel that this trip would be remembered as much for the journey as for the place I was going. The rest of the flight passed in a blur. The medical scare seemed to drain the energy from the cabin. People spoke more quietly, moved more slowly. I spent most of the final hours staring out the window, watching the sky shift from deep blue to the pale gold of morning. Eventually, the captain's voice returned, calm and steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our descent. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened and your seat backs are in the upright position." Below us, patches of land began to appear through the clouds. Green fields, winding rivers, and tiny buildings that looked like toys from this height. My heart gave a small jump. I was almost there. The plane tilted slightly as we lined up for the runway. The engines roared, then softened. The landing gear extended with a mechanical hum. I gripped the armrest as the ground rushed up toward us. The wheels touched down with a firm bump, followed by the rapid thump-thump of the tires on the runway. A soft cheer and scattered applause rose from somewhere in the cabin, the kind of relief only travelers know after a long, unpredictable journey. As we taxied to the gate, I looked around at my fellow passengers, some smiling, some already gathering their belongings, some still half asleep. For a brief moment, we were all connected by the same shared experience, the delays, the turbulence, the tension, and finally the relief of arrival. When the seatbelt sign switched off, I stood and reached for my carry-on in the overhead bin. It was there, safe and intact. My jacket, still stuffed with extra clothes, made me feel like I was carrying a personal cloud around my shoulders. Stepping off the plane, I felt the rush of new air, warmer and fresher than the recycled cabin atmosphere. The terminal here had its own smell, a mix of polished floors, coffee, and the faint scent of somewhere I didn't yet know. Despite the stress, the money spent, and the unexpected events, I smiled. Travel, I realized, is never just about the destination. It's also about the little battles, the surprises, and the stories you collect along the way. And this trip, I already knew, had given me a story I'd be telling for years.
Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A document showing the identity of someone when outside his country.
Passport.
Register bags with the airline and give them to be put on the plane.
Check.
Piece of luggage. 1 bag.
Piece.
The bags that one can carry on to the plane.
Carry-on luggage.
Between continents.
Intercontinental.
Get on the plane.
Board.
Very cheap, inexpensive.
Next to nothing.
Phrase used to indicate that something is very expensive.
An arm and a leg.
A device that senses the presence of metal.
Metal detector.
A pass that authorizes passengers to get on an airplane.
Boarding pass.
An instrument or machine for weighing.
Scale.
A short stop or break in a journey usually imposed by scheduling requirements.
Layover.
A trip from one place to another and back, usually over the same route.
Round trip. Let's try that faster.
The bags that one can carry on to the plane.
Carry-on luggage.
A document showing the identity of someone when outside his country.
Passport.
Register bags with the airline and give them to be put on the plane.
Check.
Between continents.
Intercontinental.
An instrument or machine for weighing.
Scale.
A device that senses the presence of metal.
Metal detector.
Piece of luggage. 1 bag.
Piece.
A short stop or break in a journey usually imposed by scheduling requirements.
Layover.
A pass that authorizes passengers to get on an airplane.
Boarding pass.
Very cheap, inexpensive.
Next to nothing.
A trip from one place to another and back, usually over the same route.
Round trip.
Phrase used to indicate that something is very expensive.
An arm and a leg.
Get on the plane.
Board. Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
It's absurd to think that the world will end in 2012. He made one of the most absurd comments I've ever heard. That's absurd. I never cheated on my wife.
Next to nothing.
Do you like my new house? It was so cheap. It cost next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
Let's go to Thailand. Tickets cost next to nothing right now.
Next to nothing.
The real estate agent charged me next to nothing for his commission, so I got a really good deal.
An arm and a leg.
Be careful with the new carpet. It cost me an arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg.
Can you believe how expensive homes are in New York? It'll cost you an arm and a leg to buy a small house.
An arm and a leg.
We paid an arm and a leg for our new home theater, and then it got stolen.
Check.
Frank was at the airport 3 hours before his flight because he had to check a lot of luggage.
Check.
Excuse me, is this the counter where I can check oversized luggage?
Check.
Most airlines only allow one piece of luggage to be checked. How am I supposed to fit the dog in the car? There are 10 people in there already. How am I supposed to get to work if her car is in the shop? How are we supposed to know the answer to that? It's impossible.
Have you ever wondered how some people travel through airports so smoothly, while others seem lost at every step? What if you could move confidently from check-in to arrival, using the right English words at the right time? Imagine you walk into a busy terminal with your bags. You need to show your passport, check luggage, get a boarding pass, and pass through security. Knowing the right words and short sentences helps you move quickly and speak confidently in real situations. First, the place where you start is called the check-in counter or self-service kiosk. At the counter, an airline agent often asks for your passport and your booking reference or confirmation number. You may hear, "May I see your passport, please?" or "Can I have your booking reference?" Practice these short lines. "Here is my passport, and my booking reference is AB 1234. The agent will ask if you have any checked luggage. Checked luggage is the suitcase you give to the airline to put in the plane's cargo hold. You can say, "I'd like to check 2 bags," or "I have 1 piece of checked luggage." A common word learners need is carry-on or carry-on luggage. This is the small bag you take with you on the plane and put in the overhead compartment or under your seat. You might say, "I have 1 carry-on bag," or "Will this fit in the overhead compartment?" If the bag is too big, the agent may say, "Carry-on bags must fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat." Airlines have rules called baggage allowance. This means the number of bags and the weight you can bring without paying extra. For example, many airlines allow 2 pieces of checked luggage at 20 kilograms each. If you have more than the allowance, you will pay an excess baggage fee or an overweight charge. Useful questions are, what is my baggage allowance? And is there a fee for extra bags? Example answers you might hear. Your allowance is 2 checked bags and 1 carry-on. Or there's an extra fee for the 3rd bag. When the agent weighs your bag, they use a scale. You may hear, "Your bag is 25 kilograms," and you can respond, "Oh, that is overweight. Can I move some items to my carry-on?" Or "Can I pay the extra fee here?" Good phrases to use. Can you reweigh it after I transfer some items? And is there a cheaper option than paying the fee? If the agent says the extra fee is high, a simple polite complaint can be, "That seems expensive. Is there any way to reduce the charge?" Remember to be calm and clear. After you check your bags, the agent will attach a baggage tag to each suitcase and give you a baggage receipt or claim tag. Keep the claim tag. This helps you find your bag at the baggage carousel after you land. You can say, "Can I have a baggage receipt, please?" Or, "Where's the carousel for flight AB 123? If your bag is lost or delayed, use the phrase, "My luggage did not arrive." How do I report lost luggage? The desk for this is usually the lost and found or the airline's baggage office. Other important words at check-in are boarding pass and seat assignment. The agent gives you a boarding pass that shows your gate number, boarding time, and seat. Say, "What is my gate?" or "When does boarding begin?" If the gate changes, the agent might say, "Your gate has changed to gate 12. Short questions to practice. When does boarding start? And what is my seat number? Security rules also affect luggage. Agents may ask you to open your bag for inspection. If they say, "Please open your bag," you can respond, "Sure, no problem." Liquids usually must be small and in a clear bag. You might hear, "Liquids in containers of 100 milliliters or less. Please place them in the clear plastic bag." Practice saying, "Do I need to remove my laptop?" or "Where do I put my liquids?" Practical tips and useful language. Always check the airline's baggage policy online before you pack. If you're worried about paying too much, weigh your luggage at home. Put valuables, medication, and important documents in your carry-on, not in checked luggage. Keep a small phrase ready. "I prefer to keep this in my carry-on." If you travel with other people, you can ask, "Can we share the baggage allowance?" or "Can I combine items into one checked bag?" Finally, learn short, polite phrases for problems. "I'm sorry, but I think this is a mistake. Could you please explain the fee?" And "Is there a manager I can speak to?" These lines help you stay polite and get clear help. Practicing these words in short sentences: passport, check-in, check luggage, carry-on, baggage allowance, overweight excess fee, baggage tag, boarding pass, gate security, will make your next check-in fast, safe, and confident. After finishing the check-in process, the next step in the airport journey is going through security. This is an important stage where you and your belongings are checked to make sure nothing dangerous or restricted is brought on board. Knowing the words and short sentences used here can make the process much easier and less stressful. The security area usually begins with a queue or line where passengers wait their turn. Signs often say security check or passenger screening. A helpful phrase to ask an airport staff member is this the line for security? Or where's the security checkpoint? At busy airports, there may be priority lines for certain passengers, such as families, business class travelers, or people with special needs. You can ask, "Is there a priority line?" When it's your turn, an officer will check your boarding pass and passport again. You might hear, "Boarding pass and passport, please." Practice replying clearly, "Here you go," or "Here are my documents." Then, you'll be asked to place your belongings in security trays or bins. This includes your carry-on luggage, laptop, coat, belt, and sometimes shoes. A useful question to remember is, do I need to take off my shoes? Or do I need to remove my jacket? Most airports require you to remove your laptop and other large electronics from your bag. An officer might say, "Please take out your laptop and place it in a separate tray." Practice answering, "Sure, here it is." Liquids must be in containers of 100 milliliters or less, placed in a clear plastic bag. You could ask, "Where should I put my liquids?" or "Are water bottles allowed?" When you pass through the metal detector or body scanner, listen carefully to the officer's instructions. They may say, "Please step forward, raise your arms," or "Step to the side for further screening." If the alarm sounds, you might hear, "Please empty your pockets," or "We need to do a pat-down search." Stay calm and answer politely with, "Okay, I understand." Sometimes, your bag will be pulled aside for a manual inspection. The officer might ask, "May I open your bag?" or "Is this your carry-on?" You can respond, "Yes, please go ahead," or "Sure, that's mine." If you're not sure why your bag was selected, you can ask, "Is there a problem with my bag?" Security officers may also swab your hands or belongings to check for certain substances. They might say, "This is just a routine check," or "Please hold still." It's important to follow all instructions without rushing, as this helps the process move faster. When your belongings come out of the scanner, remember to collect everything, especially your passport, boarding pass, phone, and wallet. Check the trays carefully before leaving. You can ask an officer, "Is this all my luggage?" or "Did everything pass the scan?" A few practical tips. Wear shoes that are easy to remove and put back on. Keep your liquids bag and electronics on top of your carry-on for quick access. Avoid carrying sharp items like scissors or pocket knives in your carry-on. They will be taken away. If you don't understand an instruction, politely ask, "Could you please repeat that?" Or "What should I do?" By knowing these words, security check, queue, boarding pass, tray, metal detector, scanner, liquids bag, pat down, and by practicing short, polite sentences, you can pass through airport security with confidence and without stress. After passing through security, you enter the departure area of the airport. This is where you wait for your flight before boarding the plane. Here, you'll find shops, restaurants, seating areas, and most importantly, the departure gates. Understanding the signs, announcements, and common phrases in this area will help you feel comfortable and ready for the next step of your journey. The first thing to do is check the flight information display screens. These large screens show your flight number, destination, gate number, and boarding time. You might see a message like "on time," "delayed," or "now boarding." If you can't find your flight on the screen, a useful question is, "Excuse me, could you help me find my flight?" Or "What gate is my flight leaving from?" Sometimes your gate changes after you pass security. Airport announcements often say, "Attention passengers on flight AB 123 to London. Your gate has changed to gate 18. Always listen carefully to announcements and check the screens regularly. You can ask staff, "Has the gate for flight AB 123 changed?" Or "When will boarding start?" The departure area also has duty-free shops where you can buy items like perfume, chocolate, alcohol, or electronics without paying local taxes. You could ask, "Is this shop duty-free?" or "Can I pay in my home currency?" Many shops also accept credit cards and offer tax refund services for international travelers. If you have time before boarding, you can relax in the seating area or visit a cafe or restaurant. If you need Wi-Fi, a useful phrase is, "What is the Wi-Fi password?" or "Is the Wi-Fi free?" Some airports also have charging stations for your phone or laptop. You can ask, "Where can I charge my phone?" or "Is there a power outlet near my gate?" Another important area is the boarding gate itself. When you arrive at your gate, check the display above it for your flight details. There may be different boarding groups, such as Group 1, Group 2, or families with young children. Listen for announcements like, "We are now boarding Group 1." You might say, "Which group am I in?" or "When will my group board?" It's also a good idea to keep your boarding pass and passport ready. When the gate agent calls your group, they will scan your boarding pass and may check your passport again. You can practice short lines like, "Here is my boarding pass," and "Do you need to see my passport?" If there's a delay, you might hear, "We are sorry for the delay. Boarding will begin in 30 minutes. You can ask politely, "Will the departure time change?" or "Do I need to stay near the gate?" Being calm and patient during delays is important, especially in crowded airports. Finally, remember to stay aware of boarding time. Many airports close the gate 15 to 20 minutes before departure. If you hear, "Final call for flight AB 123 to London," go to the gate immediately. Useful sentences include, "Am I too late to board?" or "Is the gate still open?" By learning and practicing words like departure area, gate change, boarding groups, duty-free, tax refund, Wi-Fi, charging station, final call, and by using polite, short questions, you can navigate the departure area smoothly and board your flight without problems. Boarding the plane is an exciting moment because it means your journey is about to begin. This stage is all about finding your seat, storing your luggage, and getting comfortable for the flight. Knowing the right words and phrases can help you move quickly and politely, especially when the plane is crowded. When you enter the aircraft, the flight attendants will greet you and check your boarding pass to make sure you're in the right seat. They might say, "Welcome aboard," or "Your seat is on the right." You can reply politely with, "Thank you," or "Could you please point me to my seat?" Seats on airplanes are usually labeled with numbers and letters, such as 12A, 14C, or 22F. The number is the row, and the letter is the seat position. A is usually by the window, C or D is by the aisle. If you can't find your seat, you can ask a flight attendant or another passenger, "Is this seat 14C?" or "Where is row 22?" For your carry-on luggage, use the overhead compartment above your seat or the space under the seat in front of you. If your bag is too heavy, you can ask, "Could you help me lift this into the compartment?" Or "Is there space in another overhead bin?" Keep smaller items, like your phone, book, or headphones, in a bag you can easily reach during the flight. Once you're seated, you might need to let other passengers pass. A polite phrase is, "Excuse me, I think that's my seat," or "Would you mind letting me through?" If you're sitting by the window or middle seat and someone wants to get to the aisle, you can say, "Sure, let me move so you can pass." Before takeoff, flight attendants will go through the safety demonstration. They'll explain how to use the seat belt, oxygen mask, and life jacket, and show where the emergency exits are. Even if you've flown many times, it's good to pay attention. You might hear instructions like, "Please fasten your seat belt, switch off electronic devices, or put your seat in the upright position." Your seat belt should be fastened low and tight across your lap. A useful question is, "Does my seat belt look correct?" Or "Can I keep my phone in airplane mode?" For takeoff and landing, you'll need to open your window shade and stow your tray table. You might hear, "Please raise your window blind," or "Put your tray table away." Sometimes, passengers have special requests before the flight starts, such as moving to an empty seat or asking for a blanket. You could say, "Is it possible to change seats?" or "Could I have a blanket, please?" Another tip is to be ready for an announcement from the captain or flight attendants. They might share the flight duration, weather at your destination, or expected turbulence. Listen carefully so you know what to expect. By practicing words like boarding pass, aisle, window seat, overhead compartment, safety demonstration, seat belt, life jacket, emergency exit, and by using polite, clear questions, you can settle into your seat with confidence and start your flight smoothly. Once the plane takes off and reaches a stable altitude, the in-flight service begins. This is the part of the journey when you can relax, enjoy the flight, and interact with the flight attendants. Knowing useful vocabulary and phrases will help you communicate your needs politely and clearly. Shortly after takeoff, flight attendants may come around offering refreshments, drinks like water, juice, tea, coffee, or soft drinks. They might ask, "Would you like something to drink?" You can answer simply, "Yes, water please," or "I'd like orange juice, please." If you don't want anything, just say, "No, thank you." On longer flights, you may also get a meal service. The flight attendant will often tell you the options, such as, "We have chicken with rice or pasta with vegetables." If you didn't hear clearly, you can ask, "Could you repeat the options, please?" Or "What is in the chicken dish?" If you have dietary needs, a good phrase is, "I ordered a vegetarian meal," or "Does this contain nuts?" During the flight, you can ask for extra items like a blanket, pillow, or headphones. Useful requests include, "Could I have a blanket, please?" or "Do you have headphones available?" If your seat feels cold, you might say, "Could you turn down the air above my seat?" or "Is it possible to make it warmer here?" Many flights offer entertainment systems with movies, music, or games. You can ask, "How do I use the screen?" or "Is there a way to change the language to English?" This is a great chance for English learners to practice listening skills by watching movies or shows in English with subtitles. If you need to move around, remember to follow safety rules. The seatbelt sign will light up when it's not safe to stand. If it's off, you can go to the restroom. To find it, you can ask, "Where is the nearest restroom?" or "Is the restroom available now?" In a busy flight, you might have to wait your turn, so a polite "I'll wait here" is useful. On some flights, you might experience turbulence, which is when the plane shakes a little. The captain or flight attendants will usually announce, "Please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt." Stay calm and follow the instructions. You can ask, "How long will it last?" if you're feeling nervous. If you need something during the flight, there's usually a call button above your seat. Press it, and a flight attendant will come help you. You can say, "Excuse me, could I have some water?" Or, "My screen isn't working. Could you help me?" By using words like refreshments, meal service, entertainment system, call button, turbulence, restroom, and seatbelt sign, and by practicing polite requests, you can make your in-flight experience smoother, more comfortable, and more enjoyable while also improving your English naturally. As the flight nears its end, the landing process begins. This is an important stage because there are several instructions to follow, and understanding them will make everything smoother. About 30 minutes before arrival, the captain usually announces the weather, local time, and temperature at your destination. You might hear, "We will be landing shortly. Please fasten your seatbelt and prepare for arrival." The flight attendants will walk through the cabin to check that everyone is ready. You'll be asked to return your seat to the upright position, stow your tray table, and open your window shade. A common phrase you might hear is, "Please place your seat back in the upright position." If you need help, you can say, "Could you show me how to adjust my seat?" If you have personal items in the overhead compartment, it's better to leave them there until the plane has fully stopped. During landing, you should keep your seatbelt fastened low and tight across your lap. The announcement might be, "Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the seatbelt sign has been turned off." When the plane touches down, you may feel a sudden bump and hear the sound of the brakes. This is normal. Sometimes, there will be a short wait before the plane reaches the gate. Use this time to gather your belongings under the seat, but avoid standing until it is safe. Once the plane has parked and the seatbelt sign turns off, passengers begin to collect their carry-on bags. A useful phrase is, "Excuse me, may I pass?" if you need to get out of your row. Be patient, as everyone will be trying to leave at the same time. After exiting the aircraft, follow the signs for immigration or passport control if you're entering another country. Here, an immigration officer will check your passport, visa, if needed, and sometimes ask questions about your trip. Common questions include, what is the purpose of your visit? How long will you stay? And where will you be staying? You can answer clearly, "I am here for tourism for 2 weeks," or "I am visiting family in New York." Once you pass immigration, you'll go to the baggage claim area to collect your checked luggage. Look for a screen that shows your flight number and the carousel where your bags will arrive. If you can't find your bag, you can ask, "Excuse me, where can I find the baggage claim for flight AB-123? Or my bag hasn't arrived. What should I do?" The final step before leaving the airport is usually customs. Depending on the country, you may walk through a green channel, nothing to declare, or a red channel, goods to declare. If you're not sure, you can ask, "Which channel should I use?" or "Do I need to declare this item?" By knowing words like upright position, tray table, window shade, overhead compartment, immigration, baggage claim, carousel, and customs, and by practicing clear, short answers, you can make the landing and arrival process stress-free and confident. After you have passed through customs, your journey continues into the arrival hall of the airport. This is where you will find signs for transportation, such as taxis, buses, trains, or car rental services. If you're in a new city or country, it's important to understand the basic phrases and vocabulary to get to your next destination safely and easily. Many airports have clear signs in multiple languages, but if you're unsure, you can ask an airport staff member, "Excuse me, where's the taxi stand?" Or "How do I get to the train station from here?" If you need to buy a ticket for public transport, you might say, "Where can I buy a bus ticket?" Or "Is there an express train to the city center?" If you choose a taxi, always check if it's an official one. You can ask, "Do you use a meter?" Or "How much will it cost to get to my hotel?" For rideshare apps, follow the pickup instructions shown in the app and confirm the driver's name before getting in. Some travelers prefer airport shuttles or private transfers, which can be booked in advance. A useful phrase at the information desk is, "Could you tell me where to find the airport shuttle?" Or, "I have a booking under the name Smith. Where should I wait?" In the arrival hall, you might also find currency exchange counters or ATMs if you need local money. You could ask, "Where's the nearest ATM?" or "What is the exchange rate for US dollars?" Always count your money before leaving the counter. If someone is meeting you at the airport, look for the meeting point area, which is usually marked with signs. If you can't find them, you can call or text to say, "I'm at the meeting point near exit B," or "I'm standing next to the information desk." Before leaving the airport, double check that you have all your belongings, passport, wallet, luggage, and any personal items. A quick habit to learn is to mentally review passport, phone, money, bag. This can save you from stressful situations later. Traveling through an airport involves many steps, from check-in to boarding, in-flight comfort, landing, and finally transportation. By learning and using practical English phrases at each stage, you can move confidently, communicate clearly, and enjoy your journey without confusion or stress. Every trip then becomes not only a travel experience, but also an opportunity to practice and improve your English naturally.